This is James Maduke speaking. You're watching a quick live cast from teachonline.io. What I want to do today is I'm just going to go quickly through the whole idea of cohort training and how you can do it with Zoom. Now, this question came up actually in one of the live trainings today. It's something that I'm involved with heavily, so I thought I'd go over one of the examples of how this can be done, specifically how you can use the tool Zoom to do cohort training. So this is basically what I'm going to cover today. And again, if you do have any questions, make sure to ask in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. The areas we're going to cover first is what exactly is cohort training. You might have heard that word being bandied around a little bit more frequently now. So I'm going to talk about what a cohort training is. Secondly, we're going to look at the 5 benefits of cohort training. After that, I'm going to look at the C cohort training. And what that means is any kind of cohort training, what does it have to have, or what does it entail in terms of all the things that are included in cohort training. After that, I'll look at 2 ways that you can set up cohort training, 2 different sort of paths to doing that kind of cohort training. And then we'll take a look at one that I'm using. I'll share how I'm using it specifically with Zoom. So that's kind of what we're going to go through. The other thing I'm doing here, of course, is after the class for the Ecamm class, I've got all of my scenes set up. So we'll go through some of those and see if we can use those successfully in this quick training. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'll do my best to go through it as quickly as possible. And again, if you do have any questions, I'll try and open up the comments as well. So the first thing I want to do is go through exactly what cohort or cohort style training is. And the physical kind of definition of it. So this is what you'll actually hear, if you look up, for example in an encyclopedia definition, is it says a cohort-based course is a program of learning that's organized according to a syllabus, usually in sections, and is taken by a group of students, a cohort, at the same time. So it's a set of lessons or courses taken by a group of people all at the same time, and the goal at the end of the cohort is normally a specific outcome. So everyone's working together, collaborating together, and at the end of this cohort course, hopefully what happens is that if you've been promised by the instructor that you're going to know something or do something, at the end of the cohort, you should be able to have that done as a group and being worked together to all of you individually reach that outcome. So that's actually what a cohort training is. The next thing, maybe just to kind of go over, is, what are the benefits of cohort training? Now, there's a couple things I just want to touch on. Personally, I've been selling courses for 25 years now online. I've sold a lot of courses, and I've not sold a lot of courses that I've created. And one of the things that is just becoming more apparent as all of this ability to create online video content is getting, in many respects, easier, and more people are being able to do it. There's a lot of people coming out with what used to be called a course with just a recorded video. That's content, it's not a course. So there's more to a course than just recording some content. That's the first piece. The second thing is that the courses that are being created, very few of them are actually being completed. There's statistics that show as low as 10 or 15% of people that actually purchase a course, they pay money for it, they'll purchase it, but they don't even complete it. If there's 10 videos, they're finishing 1 or 2 videos. And these may not be in sequence. It may be the first one and the last one, could be the second and the 7th, but there's no control or accountability for what's actually happening on these courses or these videos that are being distributed or sold as courses. So you're going to hear a lot more about cohorts, and the reason being, the big one is because a cohort provides a lot of accountability for the learner themselves going through the process, but more importantly, because they're taking them as a group. And what that means is you have a specific course with a specific outcome, a group of people working towards that outcome. So the first benefit is they're always specific. It's not a whole bunch of courses. It's always about a specific outcome. And that doesn't allow people to go through 50 courses that may be in a Udemy catalog, for example. It's specific to one course at one time. So that's kind of first. Accountable is the second one. The third one is collaborate. When you're going through in a cohort and something doesn't make sense or you struggle with something, the group of students can be a very powerful asset for the instructor, but also for the other learners. If I'm going through something and I can't get a hold of the instructor, or the instructor has not had the same experience as the person asking the question, one of the other learners might. So that you get group content that gets created in the cohort, and it's not restricted only to the instructor or the creator of the cohort or the person giving the course. So you have group knowledge and group content being created and distributed to the cohort, which is a powerful benefit. The other thing that happens with cohorts, hopefully, is with the accountability comes the application. And you see that many times in a cohort where there are assignments during that listing of lessons or the complete cohort, but you have to apply what you've learned to either move on in the lessons or in fact go on to the next step in terms of some kind of quizzing or accountability. So that's really, really powerful. And the last one is consistency for the learners. If you're in a group, a cohort that's going through a course, you're far more likely to start the course and finish the course. And that's the real powerful thing that's happening with cohorts, is this whole idea of actually learning something and applying something. Not just knowing something, but also doing something. So there's 5 real key benefits in there. And the other thing I want to share with you, and this is why tools like Ecamm are so important, is a cohort in most cases involves blended learning. And what that means is that you have recorded content, and whether that's in the form of a video or audio or text or digital content that's a workbook, but it's also blended with live content. So you get both channels coming in at the same time, live and recorded. So static and active learning happens in cohort training. And again, this just isn't possible if you're doing a traditional recorded video course. So we know what a cohort is. There's some great benefits to it. What actually happens from here? What are the things that are in cohort training? Well, I talked about it a little bit. I build campuses or learning campuses, training sites that allow for cohort training and recorded training. And we look at a bunch of C's that are involved in cohort training. And I'm not going to go through all of them here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about a platform for providing cohort training. The platform will usually allow for these C's. So obviously content, lots of content, courses, the cohorts, the ability to not only have courses, but to have these grouped blended learning courses in a form of a cohort. They have classes, and classes are specific, that live part of a course. They're going to have classes. They're going to have communication, and what that means is that the group or the individuals taking the course together can communicate between each other and also between themselves and the instructor. And that's a form of messaging, files, all sorts of stuff that they want to be able to send back and forth with each. Community, it's just that. It's not only the learners talking or paying attention or only working with the instructor, but it's them working with each other in that group. The other thing that you'll find in really powerful cohorts is something called competition. And this is in the form of gamification. And this is something you'll see for people selling courses. And specifically, you'll find it more prevalent in courses that get finished. And gamification is all about rewarding specific activities within the consumption of that course. Now, you might see it in the form of badges. That's one way, or an introduction to it, but there's a whole bunch of other ways that you can gamify a cohort, which is really powerful in getting people engaged and following the steps or what you're trying to teach them, the requirements that are involved in there. So competition is a big one. The other one I want to just talk about is this whole idea of collaboration in a calendar. Even though you have a single cohort, you can have a calendar of events that is external or supplementary to any cohort. So don't be afraid to have a calendar of additional events. And that means that you can have additional resources that are complementary to the cohort as part of that calendar. For example, as if you're talking about a tool like Descript, here's a great example of it, which is a supplemental tool to Ecamm. You're in a position where you can actually have an external event on your calendar that applies to something that's within the cohort. And collaboration, and that's the other key, that if you've got some kind of activity feed or discussion area in your cohort, It's other users answering questions for other people or sharing their experiences that may apply to them. So those are the C's of campus building. Cohorts have great benefits. Cohorts are really important, and they're where you're going to find courses moving to over the next while. It's that whole idea of teaching online in your own training site. So I'm all in cohort training. I have teachonline.io, which is our course site. I have trainingsites.io, which is our agency service that creates these campuses. And in fact, I've registered, I think, 3 different domains now on cohorts. So we'll have some other tools about implementing these cohorts as well. The domains are registered. We're getting the sales pages and the sites all sent up with that. So got all these C's. We got the benefits. I understand what a cohort is. I want to have one. How do I get that course organized? And how do I use a blended learning tool like Zoom to make sure that I have live classes with another class? This is an example site to show you how a cohort works. And this particular example is done with WordPress. Now, when you are going to sell courses, and you're treating it as a business, there's really 2 choices that you have in terms of platforms for creating and monetizing cohorts. The one is using what's called a software as a service, and these are online services that include a whole bunch of tools that allow you to create and perhaps sell access to courses, cohorts, and if it's a powerful platform as a software as a service, what it will normally do is it will include things like the C's. They'll have communication. They'll have a way to do live events. They'll have a calendar. They'll have a way to monetize it. So you can use the software as a service example. It would be a tool like, I think, Thinkific or Kajabi. There's a number of them available where you pay a monthly fee to have access to their platform. I'm not going to talk about that one today. I'm going to talk about the self-hosted, which is the other option, and that's using something, for example, like WordPress. This example that I'm showing you on the screen right now is done with WordPress. So this is self-hosted on a regular WordPress site that has got, in your case, your brand. I'm assuming that you've got Ecamm set up and you're able to create videos for your course content. And you've also got Ecamm set up so that you can use it as a virtual camera now that you've taken the Ecamm course, and use it within Zoom to actually share your content, your Ecamm content, live in Zoom calls with your classes in the cohort. So this is just an example of one that I'm going to show you. This version is done on WordPress. It uses a plugin called LearnDash, which is a learning management software that keeps care of all of the courses. That's a plugin for WordPress. And then you also have another plugin called BuddyBoss, which is the community portion of the campus. So we've got courses, we've got community. The other piece that I'm assuming that you have is a Zoom account. So we've got the blended learning part, we've got the campus part, the cohort part, where we've got the community, the communications, all of that stuff that's available. And then we've actually got the courses. So in this example that I'm showing you right now, I'm going to show you, we'll go over the top here just quickly with the across the top menu here. You'll see my mouse moving across the top. We have what we call communities. Again, this is a regular WordPress site. We're using communities here. In the communities, these are groups, or you can call them cohorts if you want. These ones are public groups. We have paid groups, which we call cohorts. We call the free ones communities. And I've got courses. So if I'm just selling a course and someone wants to go and take a look at a course, we have a complete library of courses. And someone just wants to take the course. They want to watch the videos. They don't want to have anything to do with, for example, talking, going to live classes. They just want to consume the content. They may want to gamify it. They may want a certification at the end. But these courses are ones that don't include the live instructor. There's no live classes. And people that start today can finish today, and people that start tomorrow can finish whenever they want. There's no group of people going through the content together. So these are just courses. On the other hand, if someone says, look, I really need some help. I want to be a master in ActiveCampaign, or for example, I want to understand how to make a campus, or for example, I want to be an expert in WordPress, or I want to create a sales page. And if I, as the instructor, want to create a cohort with this group, with a group of people going through the course together and supporting them, this is what I would do on my WordPress site. And I'll just show you. I'm going to go to one of the communities that is set up as a free cohort, not charging for it. And in this particular one, I've got one called Teach Online. And if I am a member of this group, whether I paid for it, in this case I didn't, it was free, but if I paid for it for free, when I log in to this campus or this cohort, I'm given access to an activity feed, moving my mouse up and down. So this is only the people that are in the cohort. They only get to see this, and these are only the things that they are doing. I have discussion boards or actual discussion forums where there's questions that people may have or stuff they may want to share. The discussion forums are specific. Anything that happens in the discussion forum actually shows up in that activity feed as well, which is nice. You'll also notice that I've got a Zoom menu here. I'll come back to that. I've got the listing of the members who are currently in the cohort. And what this allows me to do is be able to find out who's taking the course with me. And more importantly, I can follow them, friend them, message them, just exactly the same as you would on your own Facebook group. So technically, this is your own private Facebook group on your own site. Now, here's the interesting thing. In this cohort, you saw I had a whole bunch of courses. What I'm doing here is on this one is in the little cohort courses menu for this cohort, I have made 3 specific courses available to this cohort, and these are the lessons in this cohort or the courses that we are going to be going through together. So these courses are specific to the cohort, and the courses are being given in the forms of days, if we put it over a period of days, and those days can have certain sections or lessons. It's that syllabus of where I, as the instructor, I'm going, this is what I want you to learn today. This is the quizzes I want to assign, the assignments you have. In fact, you can set the quizzes up so that they can't go on to the next lesson unless they pass the quizzes or they complete the assignment. You can be very structured or as open as you want, but that section, everyone goes through together. It only becomes available either as a day progresses, if it's dripped content, or they have passed the associated quizzes or assignments that are with them. You'll also notice here we've got documents, photos, images. This is a standalone group that is specific with a course or a group of courses that people are going by together. And at the end of this, what this open group is talking about is you're going to understand what a campus is and the campus map. You're going to have your own. You're going to understand how a campus works. And in fact, you're going to know how WordPress works specifically. So this cohort, people are going through this together. Now the question is, I get the videos, that stuff's there. How do I get my Zoom part? Like, where is the live calls? And if I go back to the Zoom menu here, LearnDash and BuddyBoss, the WordPress plugins that I have here, also have built in the integration with Zoom. So in this case, I can set up or put in single Zoom calls, recurring Zoom calls, or a series of private Zoom calls that are unique to this cohort, and I can schedule them for upcoming meetings with the Zoom links, set how they work, so that anyone in this group can come into this group / cohort. They come into it, they have access to the Zoom meetings that are there. They're scheduled as the instructor. The real nice thing with this is that you also have the ability to create the past meetings or record them. So if you happen to miss one of the live classes, you can go back and look at it. The courses, everything is here in one place on your own site. So that's how it would look for the person taking the course. What happens here is you go, okay, great, I'm taking the course. What about me as the instructor? How do I set this up? So what I'll do now is I'll just do a quick look at what happens for you as the instructor to create this kind of cohort on your own website. So I'm already logged in as an administrator. I'm just going to go back up and take a look at myself here as a test user. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to go and say, let's go back to administrator. So for me as the administrator, I'm going to manage in this case, my cohort, my group, my courses, all of the pieces that are in there. I'm going to go manage it. I'm going to go take a look and say, here's my Teach Online cohort that's here. It's a learning track, it's public, and I'm the organizer. You can see in the upper right, I'm the organizer. And at any time, I can assign the courses that I want, but I can also go to this Zoom menu, and this is where I can schedule any of the Zoom calls that I want. So if I want to sync with meetings that I've set up in Zoom, I certainly can. Upcoming meetings, and I can create a new one. And as the instructor, when I create a new one, I have all of the options that are available here where I want to set a date. And more importantly, what's really interesting here is I can have some meeting options that really control what people see or what they don't see. So if I wanted to have this really buttoned down, I wanted people to register or have to register in Zoom to do it. If I only wanted them to be able to come to the call if they were Zoom, if I wanted a waiting room, these are things that I can set up, either turn them on or turn them off. I'm totally in control of that. And I can make these recurring meetings. So if you're going to have a meeting every day at noon for the week during this particular cohort, it's something that you have available that you control for this particular group. Okay, so you're in complete control of this whole group. It's on your website. It's in one place, your brand, your website, and you can either choose to give people access to this for free. You can charge people for this. It's a complete part of your business. The one reason I do like this system as the self-hosted version is in this particular case, all of our e-commerce is set up here on this one site. All of our marketing automation, email follow-ups, everything is here. So this is a one-stop shop where you're in control, because it's self-hosted, of all of your business and what gets sold over and above a cohort or course. So anything that you've got in your shopping cart can be done here, as well as some of these cohorts. So a very, very powerful tool. And I think, the real interesting thing for me is when you're looking at these, you're going to go, well, is this something, as an Ecamm user where I'm creating content, is this a tool that I can use? And the answer is absolutely yes. I know that many of the users are Ecamm users are doing live content. Hopefully you're recording everything that you do that's live. Capture all that digital exhaust. Today, I know on one of the other additional classes that were included in the cohort that I recently attended was we've got a tool like Descript, which allows us to repackage, repurpose, reset up that digital exhaust in the form of a live event that we created with Ecamm. So you got a ton of this stuff here, but how do I put it into a course where I'm going to promise an outcome? And more importantly, if I am going to promise an outcome, how can I have it so that a group of people take it together, they can interact with me live in real time, and in fact, for most people who are having it as a business, how can I charge money for that? And the exciting part from a business perspective, if you're an entrepreneur, is you're far more likely to generate real income selling access to cohort trainings than you are now trying to sell individual courses. It's getting too competitive. And in fact, it's too easy to go to YouTube now as an example and just search. But if you want to put structure and content around it, if you want to take a look at those things that we're talking about, where you've got the C's, where it's collaboration, commitment, consistency, communication, courses, all of this stuff put together, you're in a very, very powerful situation where you now have Ecamm to create your live sessions, plus your recorded sessions, additional tools like Descript to slice, dice, and repurpose to put it into individual courses, and to do these live events with Zoom. So it's a huge, huge opportunity. I urge everyone who hasn't created a course yet to please do it. At least try it and put it together. I have a bunch of mind maps too, if you are interested in how to take these Ecamm videos that you've done and actually create or structure courses. Let me know. I'll make my best to send some additional resources to you. But this is a huge opportunity for you to really share your passion on what you're excited about, what you already know and do, and be able to share that with other people for fun or for profit. So If you're serious about this, you want to know a little bit more, certainly reach out to me at teachonline.io. More importantly, if you've got Zoom, you want to do a self-hosted solution, you're going to need WordPress, LearnDash, which is the learning management system, Zoom account, and BuddyBoss, which is the community platform that we use on our WordPress site. If you're going to use a third-party service, they're starting to have some of these pieces available, but it's still a separate site that you're having that part of your business on. So both of them work. Both of them are going to have both of these pieces. Just decide on which one that you want to do. Get creating videos, get creating courses, start your cohorts, and have a lot of fun. This is James speaking. Hope you enjoyed this. Our site's teachonline.io or trainingsites.io. So take care and expect the best.